Hi, I'm Rhonda Farrah. Welcome to my show, Fix Your Reflection First. I have had a wealth of life experiences, both good and bad, like everyone, and the one thing I have learned is that I am wholly responsible for the results. As I have evolved to liking the person I see in the mirror, my life has changed for the better, and that is what I help those that I coach do too. Please tune in every week as I will coach folks, listen to stories of success, and give you the tips and tools I have learned to make sure what you see is something you love and help you fix your reflection first. Welcome to Fix Your Reflection First and Live Your Best Life Ever. I'm your host, Rhonda Farrah, and this is Transformation Talk TV Network. We are glad that you joined us today. Our program, Fix Your Reflection First and Live Your Best Life Ever, is dedicated to awakening hearts, minds, and most especially spirit to our innate power from within, our authentic power from within, the power to thrive and not merely survive. Wherever you are in life right now, if you are not living the life that you desire, perhaps the life you dream about, you have come to the right place. So happy that you joined us today. Today we are going to explore how we may be mindful and make better choices to living our best life ever. And we have a special guest with us today to do just that. Today, we welcome Kay Rowe, who has a fantastic story that she'll tell you about. However, let me just briefly introduce Kay Rowe to you now. Kay Rowe was born and raised in the Midwest and spent most of her adult life in Southern California. A seeker of truth and a peacemaker at heart, her story is one of searching for answers to questions like, why can't we be kind to each other, despite all our differences? In addition to being an author and inspirational speaker, freelance writer, and consultant, Kay has been in the real estate business for 10 years, and she can sing too. Trust me, she can. So we welcome Kay Rowe, author and inspirational speaker, and we are going to talk about not only your story, but your passion to uplift people with your inspiration. Welcome, Kay Rowe.
Thank you, Rhonda. It's an honor to be on your show.
Well, it's an honor to have you here. I introduced you, but you have a whole nother story that talks about a period of roughly about 37 years. I'd like you to share that with our listeners and our viewers and how you came to find yourself in that kind of life.
Okay, well, I'll make it a quick one, relatively quick, since it's 37 years is a long time to encapsulate in 30 minutes or less. Basically, I grew up, like Rhonda had said, that I grew up in the Midwest. My family was chaotic. There was quite a bit of trauma. My father and mother went to their priest for marriage counseling and were advised to go to a psychiatrist. And then the psychiatrist recommended that they each take a turn enlisting themselves in the mental institution. Little did they know that it involved shock treatment and psychotropic drugs. My father literally came out a zombie, and I virtually lost my dad at the age of 9. And my dad was the closest person to me in my life. He was the one person that I felt understood me, that I could actually have a deep-seated conversation with. And so it was devastating to me. So for the rest of my time from 9 years old on, I was constantly seeking other people that I could relate to and had a very difficult time of it. And then I got into the wrong crowds and I was searching and going, oh my gosh, I want to be somebody. I want to do something to change the world. Where have I gotten off track? I need to get on track again. Lo and behold, a friend of mine introduces me to a cult. I go to a meeting and it all made so much sense that I drank the Kool-Aid and I stopped really thinking through what I was doing, because it all sounded so good and so true. It was like eating the breadcrumbs and they tasted good. So, hey, why do any investigations or find out if it's a con? It didn't even occur to me that it would be a con. And we, as in cult members, we were cut off from the rest of the world. I lived actually on a base for 25 of those 37 years, was not allowed to read any books other than the founders' books. I couldn't watch TV. I couldn't read articles. I couldn't read the newspaper. And I couldn't even talk to other people that were outside of that spectrum. So anyway, long story short, I finally came to my senses when I realized, after several medical issues went ignored, and I literally was bleeding, hemorrhaging for 8 straight hours, and they didn't take me to ER. Finally, I got to ER, and the doctor was surprised I was still alive. And that was my wake-up call.
Yes. That's quite a wake-up call, Kay.
Oh, yeah.
So would you say that your vulnerability got you to not only like drink the Kool-Aid and eat the breadcrumbs, but you said, yeah, there's something here for me and I am searching?
It did. It was a blessing in disguise in a way. It's kind of weird to say that. 37 years in the cult, there could be a blessing from that. But what I feel it did for me is it made me the critical thinker that I am today. It made me more aware. It also got me to see that if that could so easily happen to me, and I was like 4.0 grade average, very intelligent, 3 years ahead, in school of most people. If I could fall for that easily, what about the rest of humanity? How easily we just accept things as they are and we don't question,
Right.
Because maybe some powerful figure or maybe somebody in our family or friends says, oh my gosh, can you believe this? Blah, blah, blah. And you just go line and sinker. Oh my gosh, and now you're marching in step with that. And you don't even think, hey, maybe I should check it out. Now, we have an advantage today that we didn't have in the 70s. When I got in, there wasn't social media. We didn't have the internet. We didn't have those things. So it wasn't easy for me to verify whether or not the cult was legit and a good thing or not. I had to just trust my gut.
Right.
And I loved the people that were there because they were like-minded. So I was more attracted to the people than the actual system or the ideology.
Yes.
But now we have all these tools available to us. They're easily accessible, but you still have to be smart about what you listen to and what you watch and what you believe.
Be discerning. However, when you made the statement before, it was a blessing in disguise. And you know me, I don't believe in accidents, coincidence, or happenstance. And I do believe, as an alchemist, we can take the good stuff as well as that not so good stuff and have it work for us. So you kind of, you made it work for you, because talk to me about how you got out of the cult, or what were the defining moments that said, I need to get out of here?
Well, the medical neglect. And then I also noticed that some people that I knew in the cult were just kind of disappearing, and next thing I know, I'd find out that they died or that they're in hospice or whatever. And I'm thinking, why aren't we being told?
Right.
And then I actually found out somebody I knew very well. In fact, we were in a medical dorm together recovering. I was recovering from a surgery I had, one that was preceded by the hemorrhaging.
Right.
And she, unbeknownst to me, for quite some time had been dying of cancer. And she had medical issues that went way back years, but they waited till she got to stage 4 to do anything about it. And I looked at that and I was like, oh my gosh, that could be me right there. That could be me dying. And by the way, I was awaiting the biopsy results. I didn't even know if the surgery I had and that if I had cancer. I was shaking my head on that one. And she said, while she's laying in bed, she says to me, she goes, if there's any regret I have, it's that I haven't seen my family in years and I probably won't see them before I die.
Wow. So she said that to you, and then how were you feeling after
Then I looked at myself, my own situation, and was like, oh my gosh, I cannot do that to my family.
Yes.
I cannot be that person that never even get a phone call and find out that I died.
Were there, before I asked you how long it actually took you to leave the cult, were there red flags along the way? I mean, I know about the medical stuff, but were there other things? What were the expectations of the leaders of this cult for you, for others?
Well, I was a fundraiser the majority of that time that I lived on the base for 25 years. And we couldn't go to bed unless we made our quotas. Sometimes we couldn't even come back in the building unless we made our quotas. And the quotas were very stiff. Like I was required to make minimally $20,000 a week. And then that got increased to $30,000 a week. And I very rarely, if ever, made my quota. So I was constantly being punished. To the point where I was malnourished, I was sleep deprived, just enormous pressure, like 24/7. Sometimes I go for a couple of days without any sleep. But it was all for the greater good. You get that whole grilled, and then we also got brainwashed into thinking that if we ever left, that it was our fault. We were the ones that were the bad guys, not making our quotas and for not sticking through it. And we were degraded. They called us degraded beings for even thinking about leaving. So we had that. And then the other thing is everybody I've been by that time, I'm in for 35 years in total before I actually got off staff. Everybody I knew was, and I'd stayed in touch with my family. I didn't see my family, the majority of my family, for 30 years, but everybody I knew, all my relationships were all connected.
Yes. We're looking at was there a process to leaving the cult? You said 2 years. So
yeah, well, what happened is I got to the 35-year mark. I got one surgery in 2004. I got 2 surgeries in 2008. One of them was from the hemorrhaging. Basically, it was hysterectomy. I ended up found out I had 8 pounds of fibroid cysts in and around my uterus, like literally the size of a baby. And I was in 2008. I had to be in a medical dorm recovering, and they just wanted to get me back on the floor right away and back to fundraising, and just like it just wouldn't stop. And so another year goes by, and I finally get sick again, where I'm contagious, so I have to be put into isolation. While I'm in isolation, I overstayed so that I could get enough rest, because I knew as soon as I said, I'm good, they're going to put me right back out on the floor again, right back under the pressure, right back to no sleep and everything else. And I went, no, I'm going to just lay here. I'm going to chill out. I'm going to get caught up on my sleep and get my head on straight. And while I'm laying in bed, this is like now early 2010, I'm laying in this bunk bed, and I go, oh my gosh, all this time I'm thinking that I can't make it in the real world. And that's why I'm staying, because I'm so afraid that if I leave, I won't have any support system. I won't know how to take care of myself. I can't go back to my family groveling. I won't be able to, who's going to hire me? How can I, I'm like, by this time, I'm like 55 years old, and I have all these medical issues, and I'm just thinking, oh my God, I'm just a pile of pain. How can I do this?
Right.
And all of a sudden I look at her, I went, oh my gosh, if I have survived 35 years of this insanity, I'm a survivor. I can survive anything. Out of here.
You're a thriver, my dear.
Yeah. So then I had to very cautiously let the person, I was only allowed to talk to one person about it, because if I start telling people I'm leaving, then that's a bad thing. Then you're like shunned and you're out, you know? So I was like, okay, I got to talk to this one person very in private and say, look, I think it's time for me to go. So what I did is I played the bad boyfriend. I was like, oh, it's not you, it's me. I did that gamut.
Right.
And convinced them that I was a ball and chain on their ankle and they'd be better off without me.
Okay.
And so they then did the process of letting me leave, where they had to adjudicate whether I legitimately was not fit. And this board of people that were assigned to do this evaluation decided I wasn't fit. I was relieved they came to that conclusion. It took them weeks to do that. Actually, in the end, it was literally 6 months. Mm-hmm. All this time, though, they're interrogating me. They're literally putting me on a lie detector machine and asking me questions to determine whether or not I've committed any crimes against them, if I have any secrets, had some hidden agenda. I mean, I was like under the scope, this microscope. Mm-hmm. And finally, like, I got the okay to leave, but I had to write a program to convince them that now, as a non-staff member, I'm going to go out and still be a loyal cult member.
Okay.
The whole entire program of all these wonderful things I was going to do. So I made up this whole program, and I had a friend who was a cult member that I was able to finally call and say, hey, I need some help. And she said, you can stay at my place while you get on your feet. I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. Right. They actually had me sign a non-disclosure agreement that I was required to sign if I wanted to give the $500 check they were going to give me to help me get on my feet. This is after 35 years of service. Graciously, we're going to give me $500 to get on my feet. And I'm thinking, where's $500 going to get me in Los Angeles when I have no job, no home, no car, nothing? Anyway, I made it work. And long story short, I came through all that and I'm here.
You're not only here, but I call it taking the mess and making a message.
Yes.
So you're an author, you're an inspirational speaker, and yes. Tell us about the first book that you wrote, Over the Edge.
Okay, Over the Edge was written as a whistleblower because I felt so guilty about all the funds I had raised and all the people I had convinced that cult was a good thing.
Right.
I mean, a lot of these people I've raised funds with had emptied out college savings, got rid of their pensions, got third mortgages on their homes. And I felt so bad about it. I was like, even if only one person reads my book, gets out and stops supporting the cult and gets life back, I will feel better. Even in the book, I wrote an apology, basically. Mm-hmm. That was my whistleblowing, but also an apology, because I had that weight on my shoulders where I felt so guilty about having unknowingly destroyed people's lives by my connection with the cult.
So you began your healing that way.
Yes. Yeah.
I have read your second book. As a matter of fact, I have it right here, Belonging.
Oh, yeah.
Which is your memoirs. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Funny enough, that was not even my agenda at all to write a second book about my life. Mm-hmm. In 2020, I was so disturbed by all the divisiveness. I mean, between the election and COVID and everything going on, I was so just destroyed emotionally by it that I decided I was going to write a fiction series.
Right.
I wasn't going to write more nonfiction. So I'm in the process of writing that book, and then a year or two goes by, and I end up getting introduced to somebody that's a coach who's going to help me get published and what have you. And he says to me, nobody really knows you. It's better if you redo your memoirs, and get a name recognition, and then go back to your fiction book. So I go, what the hell? Sounds like good advice. I'll do that. So that's how I came up with Belonging. I did it with a different objective. It was not an apology. It was more of an educational book to uplift people who had traumatized lives, people who got themselves caught up in something that they felt like could never get out of, like me. Right. It doesn't have to be a cult. It could be a political party. It could be a gang. It could be an abusive business relationship. It could be a marriage. I think that a lot of people fall prey to not having enough faith or respect of themselves. They will go down this garden path thinking, well, these people know better than me. I'm just going to trust this. Yes. And then they don't even know who they are anymore. Next thing you know, they're in a cult, or they're following some guru somewhere, or they're doing things they would never dream of doing. But it's okay because they belong.
Right.
They're accepted.
It's an excellent book. And when our viewers and listeners, look up this episode description, they can find out how to get your book. So it's like this made-for-TV movie. Okay, so you're in the cult.
Yeah.
And out of the cult, but you survive not only the red flags, but you survive life-threatening situations in there. I think the medical might have been, I'm not minimizing it, but maybe the least of it, because all this emotional stuff is going on for you. Like, am I going to be alive? It's like, what if I don't do this or don't do that? So, but like we all do, we weren't trusting that authentic power from within. Some people call it intuition. I call it my godling self, not merely my earthling self. Yeah. And we just, we go down this rabbit hole that, well, we're going down the rabbit hole, not sure where we're going, but we're on our way. So it's an incredible story made real, because you're here to tell us that with that authentic power and with that, whether you call it faith, as small as mustard seed or otherwise, we can move forward to take all this crap in our lives and make it a message to help others.
Exactly.
And I think that's what you're doing now. Being of service to others. And how do you help others write, tell, express their story so they can not only heal, but help others heal and let others know that they are not alone?
Well, I'm involved in a lot of social networking and business networking. I have a lot of people that I'm very tight with, and we're really on the same page. I've met wonderful people, even meetup.com. I met one of the best friends I've ever had in my whole life. In fact, I'm actually recording this in her home, in her little office space here. She's an amazing, amazing person. Got me into, hiking and what have you, and even playing games and pickleball. So I'm now so involved with other people that people now are getting to know who I am and seeing the value that I can have as a friend. I also made a point in my Belonging book. I have in the appendix, I have writing and publishing tips in there. I intentionally put that there because I want people to have some really good points, make it simpler for them to write their story. I also offer people literally pro bono. I don't charge it for it. If they want to meet with me for coffee, or whatever, I would gladly meet with them multiple times to actually help them navigate through the process. It can be pretty daunting, publishing, but nowadays with all the tools we have and everything, it's not as horrible as it used to be. It's a lot better than it was when I wrote my first book, I can tell you that.
Right.
But I love helping people, and I realize everybody has a story. And I think meeting with people and seeing that they have a story and hearing their story, it gets us out of our pity party that we might be having with ourselves, because we realize, hey, we've all had our moments in life that have been traumatic. And
Yes.
the difference between one person and another is some people will blame and get so involved in their trauma that they're not living in the present. I feel it's very, very important for people to write, even if they don't publish. Get your story out there so that you can get relief from it, so you can stop the blame game, so you can own who you are, own the fact that you made the choice that got you in the situation that you got in, for the most part, and be able to walk away from it and find out who you really are and be that person.
Yes.
Live in the present.
We call it forward, whatever it is, even the not so good stuff. And sometimes that not so good stuff helps us even more than the good stuff.
Yep.
How can our viewers, our listeners, contact you, Kay?
Well, I have an email address, very simple, easy to remember, embracelifellc at gmail.com. You can, so it doesn't go to spam, if you could write a little note there, say regarding your podcast or regarding your book, belonging, that'll let me know right there that this is not just some random spam email coming.
And your website is what?
It's it's embracing life with Kay at wordpress.com. No, I'm sorry, embrace life with Kay at wordpress.com.
And all of that information is in the episode description. So our listeners, our viewers will have it right in front of them. And I encourage you to get a hold of Kay. So Kay, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing that story, for being vulnerable enough with our audience to let them know that they are not alone, wherever and whatever is happening with them. And in that light, here's the reminder that regardless of any struggles or challenges we are facing, we have the opportunity, if we choose, to let all of that stuff serve us rather than anything less. Whatever tunnel you happen to be traveling down now, be aware that the light that you see at the end of the tunnel is not a train coming at you. That light is the way, it's the guidance, it's the opportunity to move forward and be the best version of yourself. So thank you again, Kay, and thank you, viewers and listeners, for joining us. I'm Rhonda Farrah, and you have been listening to Transformation Talk Television Radio Network. So until next time, have a beautiful day. And as always, I invite you to treat life as if it were ice cream and enjoy it before it melts. Bye for now.
Bye.
I'm Rhonda Farrah, and you have been listening to Fix Your Reflection First. Tune into Transformation Talk Radio every first and third Monday at 3 p.m. Pacific Time for success stories of folks I have coached. I will be sharing more of my tips and tools that you can use to love the person you see in the mirror and how to fix your reflection first. Live your best life ever by choosing to be bold and courageous, even if it means getting out of your comfort zone. To connect with me, visit helpmerhondanow.com.